I'll have an opening and then we'll take your questions. It is clear that Canadians are getting gouged when they go to the grocery store. Canadians are feeling it. They see it every time they go into the grocery store. They're feeling the cost of groceries are so high. And they're not wrong. In fact, since April 2021 to present, the cost of food has gone up by over 21%. People are feeling that. They're telling us it's impossible to make ends meet with the cost of groceries so high. And that's why New Democrats are committed to taking on corporate greed. At the same time, Canadians are feeling that pain of buying their groceries. These corporate grocery stores are making record profits. So today we forced a debate, and I'll have Don, my critic, finance critic, talk about the motion and some of the work that's being done in committee. We forced a debate, and in a couple weeks there'll be a vote. And the vote is to make big corporate grocery stores pay their fair share so we can give Canadians some relief. Canadians deserve relief when it comes to the cost of groceries, so let's make the big corporate grocers pay their fair share with an excess profit tax. This excess profit tax is going to basically make them pay what they owe. It's going to ensure that they are discouraged from ripping off and gouging Canadians, and we will use the revenue to give Canadians some relief, some much-needed relief, given how high the cost of groceries are. That's our plan, and really the question is going to be what side is Justin Trudeau and Pierre Poilievre going to stand on? Are they going to stand on the side of big corporate grocery stores, protecting their record profits and protecting them from continuing to gouge Canadians? Or are they going to stand on the side of Canadians who need relief, who want to stop corporate greed from ripping them off? That's the question that we're going to see the answer to in the next couple of weeks. Donc, c'est clair que les grandes entreprises d'épicerie arnaquent les gens. C'est clair que c'est plus que jamais difficile à faire l'épicerie. Mais en même temps, les grandes entreprises d'épicerie font des profits records. Et c'est clair aussi que Justin Trudeau et Pierre Poilievre ne s'occupent pas de ça. Ils n'ont pas agi pour régler cette exploitation par des grandes entreprises d'épicerie. Mais nous, les néo-démocrates, on est prêts de combattre cette exploitation. On a forcé un débat et on va forcer un vote sur la question d'une taxe sur les profits excessifs de ces grandes entreprises. Le choix, c'est clair. Pour nous, les néo-démocrates, on veut faire face à l'exploitation des grandes entreprises et la décision va rester, ou le choix pour Justin Trudeau et Pierre Poilievre, est-ce qu'ils vont continuer de défendre les profits records de ces grandes entreprises ou est-ce qu'ils vont appuyer notre position de défendre les gens, les consommateurs et forcer ces grandes entreprises de payer le juste part? I'll ask Don to give some remarks about what's going on in committee, and then I look forward to your questions. Don?
Thank you, Jagmeet. Canadians are hungry and hurting. It's 2024, and 1 in 4 Canadian children suffers from hunger every day. Families are skipping meals as they tighten their belts in Canada, a G7 country. And as Jagmeet said, big grocery profits have gone up 21% in the last 3 years, and in 2023 they made a record $6 billion in profits. That's why today I moved a concurrence motion agreeing with a motion that was introduced by my predecessor Daniel Blakey at the Finance Committee in the House of Commons today. And it essentially asks that big grocers pay their fair share. And that's done by us introducing an excess profits tax and using that money to help fund things like a school nutrition program, which we want to be up and running this September. That would provide a nutritious meal for over 400,000 Canadian children, and there's 2.6 million kids in Canada who go to school between grades 1 and 8. So that's just a start on making sure that our kids in Canada can learn better and be healthy. It's also an enormous relief to families by them knowing that their children, and if they have 1, 2, or 3 kids, will get a nutritious, healthy meal 5 days a week at school. So not only will the kids learn better, but it's a way that we can help relieve very, very challenged family budgets in this country. So by introducing this motion today, we will have a vote, and we will determine whether the Liberals will stand with big grocers and or if they will actually help the millions of Canadian families across this country who are struggling with the high price of food. I also just want to mention the issue of shrinkflation, because not only are Canadian families paying more for groceries when they go to the store, but they're also seeing less and less product for their dollar. And that shouldn't be forgotten, because that's the other part of this equation, that Canadians are paying more and getting less. And New Democrats think that that's wrong, and we want to do something about it. And we also challenge the Conservatives to see if they're going to keep promoting corporate greed or if they're going to stand with those millions of Canadian families who need relief now.
Can you explain how taxing the excess profits of grocers is going to lower food prices? What's to stop them from just increasing prices to offset that increased cost?
Well, this is a tool that's been used by other countries around the world to take on corporate greed. It's specifically designed to take on the gouging and the excess profits being made. It's to deter those excess profits, and if they increase prices, then they'll have even more profits, and again, they'll see even more, they'll have to pay more of their fair share. So it's to deter the exploitation of Canadians, and it's also to raise revenue that will go towards giving Canadians relief. We'll use that revenue directly to give people some relief. Canadians need relief, and corporate greed is rampant. And we've not seen Justin Trudeau or Pierre Poilievre ever talk about one of the major drivers pushing up the cost of food. This is a tool that's been used in other countries, I should point out. Other countries in Europe have used an excess profit tax as a way to make companies that are making record profits or gouging their citizens to continue to pay their fair share and to bring down or to deter them from gouging their citizens. So it's a tool that's been used in other countries, and it's something we want to see Canada use to take on corporate greed.
Mr. Davies, could you just explain if this vote would be binding? Can you explain what pressure exactly it would create on the government to introduce such a tax?
Well, I take every vote in the House of Commons seriously, and an expression of the majority of people in the House of Commons, I think should have a political, moral, and ethical impact on any government that's serious about providing real relief for people. I mean, we're the Democratic chamber. If the majority of MPs ask the government to take measure, I think a government should follow that.
Mr. Smith, can we decide on the ICC prosecutor's decision to seek out the arrest warrants? The government today won't say whether or not they would actually execute any arrest warrants if they were to come to fruition. Do you think the government is taking a strong enough position on this issue?
Not at all. We should be very clear. Canadians, or Canada, was a signatory, one of the initial founders or supporters of the founding of the ICC. That is a court that we support, and we've signed on to the international laws. And to support that court means supporting the decisions that it takes. And that means if the court rules on the arrest warrants, then Canada should clearly state that, yes, we would not only respect, we would support the decision, and then we would execute the warrant in relation to international law. But let's also be very clear. For international law, for rule of law to work, the law should apply to everyone, and the law should be supported. And Canada should show leadership and say very clearly that we would support the decision and we would execute whatever the decision is.
Qu'est-ce que vous feriez, vous, différemment, si vous étiez au gouvernement par rapport à la décision de la Cour pénale internationale? Est-ce que vous seriez plus clair? Qu'est-ce que vous voudriez voir?
Oui, bien sûr, parce que le gouvernement, jusqu'à ce moment, n'a pas prononcé s'ils vont appuyer la décision. Ils ont dit qu'ils respectent la juridiction, ils respectent l'indépendance. Ce n'est pas la même chose de dire qu'on appuie le travail de Cour de justice internationale, la Cour pénale internationale. Donc, ce qu'on doit dire comme pays, c'est oui, on appuie la décision. Et si la Cour dit qu'on doit avoir un mandat d'arrêt, que le Canada va mettre en place cette décision, va enforcer cette décision. Ça, c'est la clarité qu'on a besoin d'avoir, parce que si on veut vraiment avoir une société où on suit les lois, on va garantir que les lois appliquent pour tout le monde. Et ça, c'est ce qu'on demande comme parti.
Mr. Fergus, the Bloc leader just stood here and accused you of being the cavalry that rescues the Liberals all the time. You're the only opposition party now still wanting him to stay at his job. Why is that? Why don't you agree that he's kind of crossed partisan lines too many times?
Well, it's clear he's made a mistake. That was wrong. What we're focused on is getting things done for Canadians. Earlier today, I was at a dental clinic and I met with Canadians that are receiving dental care for the first time. That's what we're focused on, making sure they get dental care. We're focused on fighting back against corporate greed. That's what we're focused on. While the Conservatives want to make a circus show of Parliament, their leader, Pierre Poilievre, wants to whine and complain because he doesn't want to follow the rules. I'm focused on giving people some relief, focused on fighting back against the corporate greed, which is driving up the cost of living, focused on getting people relief with dental care. That's what our priority is. That's what we're focused on.
Pourquoi est-ce que vous continuez de l'appuyer malgré les événements encore d'aujourd'hui?
Je pense que ce qu'il a fait, c'était ce qui s'est passé, c'était une erreur, et on dit que ça ne doit pas arriver. Mais notre priorité, c'est vraiment différent que les conservateurs. Le chef du Parti conservateur, Pierre Poilievre, veut se plaindre parce qu'il ne veut pas suivre les lois ou les règles de la Chambre des communs. Moi, comme chef, ma priorité, c'est de me battre pour les gens. Aujourd'hui, on a rencontré les personnes âgées qui ont reçu l'avantage de le programme de soins dentaires pour les aînés. Ça, c'est notre priorité. Aujourd'hui, on a un débat, on force un débat sur la question de l'exploitation des grandes entreprises qui exploitent la population par rapport aux prix d'épicerie. Ça, c'est notre priorité. C'est où je veux concentrer mes efforts.
Can you explain how you would determine excess profits to begin with?
Sure. Yeah. There's lots of different ways to look at it. One of the benefits of being one of the last countries to bring in place an excess profit tax is we can look at other countries and what they've done. So the United Kingdom, Germany, Spain have all put in place some form of way of making these large corporations pay what they owe. So one of the mechanisms is to look at what would be the profits that they've made over a number of years, factor in normal growth, and then what is in excess of their normal profit range with growth would be considered excess profits. We've done this in many different ways. We've had in the past, after the World Wars, taxes to put in place when companies were exploiting the situation, were taking advantage of a war. We put in place a form of excess profit tax then. Countries are doing it right now in Europe. So we have done this before as a country. Countries are doing it right now. The goal is, if people are being ripped off by big grocery chains, which they are being ripped off, the government has a responsibility to take them on. While Canadians are going hungry, and Justin Trudeau and Pierre Poilievre want to ignore that corporate greed is driving up the cost of food, that's wrong. We're saying there are tools that we can put in place that will take on corporate greed, discourage these companies from ripping off Canadians, and help bring down the price of food, as well as give relief to Canadians.
So the political watchdog groups are asking the House of Commons to close a loophole that has taxpayers pay for travel for MPs to conventions if a caucus is held there. Would you support closing that loophole?
I would look at that recommendation and take a closer look in terms of what that actually means and how we can ensure that we're doing the best to make sure that taxpayer dollars are being used in a responsible manner. Thanks so much. Merci.